the Wishbone pod. We are missing a very important piece of the puzzle. Uncle T is not here today. He had to work. We got other things going on. Hey, we got other things going on today. JT Hayes is going to the Braves game. You got that. You know, I got a meeting up in the freaking mountains where it's snowing. I mean, I got to go in the fucking snow, G-Rizen. I don't know what's going on with you, except a beautiful Barry Sanders poster. It looks like you got your shit together in your background. I'm excited. Good morning, good afternoon, whenever the hell time. Good night, G-Rizen. Wonderful to see you again.
Man, it was a great day. I woke up this morning, had some extra cash in my DK account, and then you guys know me, I never play DK. I only really like to play DK for the Run Pure Sports stuff. And we got to brag, 2 members, not 1, but 2 members of the Wishbone Show came in the top 4, actually, of the Run Pure's coordinator tournament we had this weekend. And that would be Uncle T came in 2nd and I came in 4th. So actually we had
Uncle T came in 2nd?
Yeah, that's
what. Then that's even more reason for him. He should have bet me.
Yeah, he came in 2nd. I came in 4th. So, you know, the old guys were well represented with all these youngsters we have.
Hey, I cashed.
So,
I got 12. I'm happy.
Hey, that's good. That's good. You cashed. Your name's on the board. That was really good. I got run down. I was in first place almost the whole stinking day. And then I got run down there at the end, but I think I put up like 192 or something like that and got run down. So, but with that, I had a little extra cash in my DK account. So I decided to throw it in a little baseball yesterday, and I woke up to an extra 5K in my account this morning. So, woo.
Good job, buddy. And I'm also proud of you that soon your rookie badge might be gone on DK.
You know what? That is so funny, man. I love it though. I do love it. I think it's great. And somebody made a little fun of me on there, and I was thinking, hey, I love it, man. If anybody wants to try to take advantage of this rookie, you just come on and bring it.
That is sensational. What's up, JT Hayes? How did you do, buddy?
Yeah, I didn't do well. I made 1 mistake. I was going to say 2, but if you watched the Carolina game and saw how badly Sam Darnold underthrew Robbie Anderson like 2 or 3 times, one was a bomb, a 60-yard bomb that had he thrown it in the end zone instead of at the 5, Robbie walks in with that for 15, and I come up a lot higher. But had Robbie, I mean, I think it's just something that I'm seeing this year where, you know, for NFL, it's just you go with the underpriced wide receiver ones because the volume isn't there for these guys. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for me again. I've played Robbie Anderson every week. This week, he's 4.8 in a matchup against the Vikings, but made a couple of mistakes. I'll tell you what, it speaks to the strength of the team that we have here at Run Pure Sports when the guy who came in first is the guy that does like the esports and doesn't do a lot of the main sports, but man, he put together a killer lineup, great lineup, focused on, I think, a stack in the highest total game of the day. That went pretty well, and had a couple of other guys, Devontae Adams. So just a really, really strong crew in terms of people that know their way around the DraftKings app. And so he came in first, so he'll be playing more NFL, obviously. And like G-Rizen said, Uncle T in 2nd, G-Rizen. Title was up there too for a while. So pretty interesting. I made a mistake, and that's okay. I came in 20th. I'll lick my wounds and look to get back on the horse next week.
Even our tennis girl, Susie, came in the top 5.
I love it.
Susie's good at everything, man. Susie will reach out sometimes during Major League Baseball season, and she'll say, hey, what do you think of this lineup? And I'm like, you know what? I think it's great because I don't want to make any changes because she does so well on her own. You know, she's just trying to get a second opinion, but she's sharp, man. We got a lot of really, really, really sharp people in here.
I've been touting Susie for a long time. I mean, we know her for tennis because she's so good at it, but she really is good at it. But it does hurt that she doesn't listen to any of the pods. I mean, there was some conflict between her and Title, obviously. That dissipated very quickly. Everybody's lighthearted when it comes to that. But she also said she didn't listen to the podcast. So, that was – Susie, I give you so much love here, deservedly so, but once in a while – you got to at least subscribe to the podcast, so at least we get some type of download from you. This is that was.
We got to tag her this week because we're talking up her skills, and telling the members, the people who aren't, looking at tennis content. I mean, you get bored in the morning or late at night, go into the tennis chat because she crushes these cores for these tennis contests. I don't even know when they play tennis, but if it's a tennis tournament, get on in there because Susie will help you win some money. So we've got to make her listen to this week's pod at least.
Okay. Anything else to discuss? What's going on right now? We got some baseball going on right now. We got the free roll. That was very fun. Thanks to all the guys that threw the money in for that. I just noticed a lot of people just took Big T's core and copied and paste. There's a lot of Joe Burrow is what I saw there.
I mean, it was the highest over. It was one of the highest over unders. I mean, if that was something else.
Well,
I actually didn't look at his core, and then I pretty much had almost his core in my team. Yeah, and I didn't even look at his core.
Yeah, I had Burrow. I was on Burrow. Every piece of content I did last week, I talked about Joe Burrow. And actually, he was fine. He was fine. It was not Burrow that held me back. It was literally 2 plays. But that's how it goes sometimes. But yeah, no, that was him to chase with a Davante Adams run back, and you were well on your way there. So no, that was pretty good.
Yeah, I use Tony's core every week, and I use JSU's core every week, and I throw it in the $100 whatever the hell that thing is. And Big T's core paid off big time this past week, especially if you could figure out how to get Henry and Davante Adams into the same lineup. And if you did that, you were probably using Kadarius Toney, and then you had 3 guys that completely went off, depending on who your quarterback was around that. I don't know how you didn't cash if you had Henry, Adams, and Toney. It was just too easy.
I will say this, that Toney, I faded Toney everywhere. That he got what he got is a total luck box with the rest of the Giants offense going down in flames in injuries. So it is what it is, but I faded him everywhere because I said he's not going to get these targets again and have the same level of productivity against this Cowboys defense. And once Saquon and Galladay went down, though, there was no one left to throw it to. I mean, I think even Ross got another touchdown late in that game, if I'm not mistaken. So, but yeah, if you had those 3, like the guy who took down the coordinator contest, Big Kev, then yeah, you were doing really well. You were over 200.
So who won it again? Who is the champion?
Big Kev, I believe, is the screen name that he goes by.
All right, congrats, Big Kev.
Big Kev.
Congrats, Big Kev. How's your new job going, G-Rizen? This is all because the new background is all because of them. You obviously didn't care enough about us to put any effort into your background, but now
it's the same thing like you. Look, you got the bookshelf. What are you talking about?
Oh, I had a beautiful fake brick wall back here with
posters. I had some other pictures back here.
Oh, you had like asbestos ceiling, and I think you're doing it from your garage. It was horrible, and now it's just beautiful. How's your new gig going? What's going on? What are you doing?
Well, I work so we got a local media outlet here called Woodward Sports. They're just trying to take over the local talk radio around here. So I had an opportunity to do a sports betting and DFS daily show with our boy from Roto Grinders, Chris Prince, beer maker fan. So us 2 are on there every day, kind of as the Detroit personalities, and our goal is to teach everybody how to play DFS and sports bet kind of more from a basic type level. So I know, when I come on this show, I'm talking to a little bit more skilled players, and we're trying to reach out to the masses and just kind of bring light to, the new toy we have here in Michigan. So been having a lot of fun with it, and still enjoy doing my Run Pure stuff. And
good.
Have a lot of fun. It's fun. Hey, anytime, I can sit around and talk about sports, and sports betting is fun, but I can say, Holden, I know I reached out to you, and in this new gig here, I've had to do some hosting type duties, which was thrown right into the fire. That's not something that I've ever really done before. And I must say, it is a lot tougher than what you make it look. I can say that. So I'm not trying to stroke you here, but it is a little tougher here to host a show than you guys just ask me questions and me fire away. But you do a good job yourself. So it's definitely fun though, what I've been doing.
I got a new job starting. I'll announce it next week, and then hopefully we'll get it. But I will say this. that I was offered a gig right before football season, and I turned it down because they wanted me to quit Run Pure Sports. I was like, screw that. And it's a lot more money. I love this place. I love this place. We pick winners. We talk shit. We have fun. This is what we do here at Run Pure.
I feel the same way.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what,
it.
when we all got to hang around at Big T's after he won that Millie, and we all got to hang out with each other and see each other. And I mean, that just kind of even made it more kind of a special, especially for me. I mean, just get to hang out and see everybody. And, it was fun. I think we had a lot of fun. We'll have to do that more often, but yeah, everybody here at Run Pure is great. And like JT said, I mean, we get LOL guy winning the football. We got, we've all learned so much being around each other. I think we've all made our game stronger. I'm not one that's played like basketball or hockey and some of these other sports, even golf for that matter. I never really played these sports. I like to just focus on the ones we had. And I'd be damned if we don't have some guys that teach you, the theories of building lineups, the process behind it. And you know what, if you stick to it and you just stick to your guns and you build your teams the way we're all kind of teaching you, it makes it a lot more fun.
All right, enough of the suck fest. Question, JT Hayes. So I dropped my phone in the toilet.
Oh.
Yeah. And
before you go on, yeah. was the toilet full with waste, or was it a clean bowl?
Oh, we already know the answer.
Okay.
No, I hadn't started, but it also wasn't really like I hadn't washed it in a week probably. So
that's fine. But the question is,
no, there was nothing in it. Well, just a little pee, but there was nothing outside of that. Then that doesn't.
A little pee. How do you not flush after you go?
Well, no, it was like I was midstream and I went, boom, 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 and then it fell.
Okay.
And then, and then I turned and then it's all over the floor. My bathroom is a complete disaster at the time. What do you do? And what do you guys think I did, JT?
The phone's got to go. And that's the end of the story. The phone goes.
The phone goes. $1,000 phone goes because it falls in a toilet.
I mean, don't you have insurance on the phone?
No, of course not.
It's like $6 a month. Why do you not have insurance? Especially someone like you, a total mess of a human like you. You should insure
That's
everything.
Personal, JT Hayes.
Whatever. Listen, I'm not. I mean, I guess I am publicly insulting you, but
yes,
you know that I'm partially kidding, but also partially telling you for your own good. You should insure everything around you. That microphone should be insured. Everything that you can, you should insure.
Okay. G-Rizen, what would you do with a phone in the toilet with no insurance? What would you do, and what do you think I did?
Well, I was thinking about that while you were saying that. And if one time I was at a Tigers game and I dropped my phone in the Porta-John.
Oh, no.
And there was no getting that. That was gone. And it wasn't, I probably could have reached in and grabbed it, but that was never even on my mind. That's not going to happen. But in your case, if it was a little bit of pee in your own toilet, probably knowing, since you're such a freak behind the door and you probably have experimented with such.
Oh, no, that is not true. I have that. So that's where I draw the line. That is where I draw the line.
You should have probably just washed it up and cleaned it, maybe put it some rice and maybe give it another go. Okay. But especially if you didn't have insurance, but you got to stop watching porn, bro, when you're peeing.
It wasn't porn. I was peeing.
No, you were watching porn.
Actually, I'm sure. Honestly, I think.
What were you texting your girl?
I might have been in Discord, going back and forth with somebody in Discord, to be honest with you. Yeah.
You know what? That you shouldn't probably say it. People don't want the visual of what you're doing while they're on Discord.
Oh, standing up. So here's what I did. I put on latex gloves. I got 3 plastic bags and put some paper towels in it. I picked the thing up with the latex gloves. I put it in the bag and I inspected it for a moment. And I said, is this salvageable? Now, iPhones are fine. They can handle a little bit of water. And ultimately the decision was walk to the dumpster, throw it in there because there's no way I'll change my mind. The phone went out. I threw it out. I bought myself a new one later that day. It was about $1,000 mistake of mishandling my phone while over the toilet. But I do have something to counter you with, G-Rizen. So you were in the porta potty. If you saw like, let's say a stack of hundreds that looked like it was 10 grand in the porta potty, would you reach in to get it? 10 grand.
I wouldn't be looking that hard to see it for
10
one.
grand. It's sitting on the top.
No, I would not reach in and grab it.
JT
I just
Hayes?
go put in a lineup and try to win 10 grand instead
10
of me
grand,
putting in the
JT Hayes,
lineup.
10 grand.
No, I would.
Yeah,
wouldn't.
I can't envision a scenario where I'm inspecting, to borrow a term from you, inspecting the inside of the porta potty.
You just walk in there and see it. Like, you
No.
don't look down there.
What do you walk in and see it? Have you ever
The
been in a
horror?
porta potty? You can't see anything. You can barely see yourself in there.
Oh, not true. The
Stop,
porta potty, the second you go in there, first you got to look and just.
This is what happens when you don't leave your goddamn house.
All right.
You don't know what the real world is like. You think you're going to find money in a porta potty. You think you can see in a porta potty. I will say I'm proud of you for making a decision that most decent humans would make, which is I'm not going to put this waste-soiled phone up to my ear for the next 5 years. That is, I'm proud. I'm proud of you.
I didn't want anything to do with that.
I mean, if you had a full toilet of pee, that's one thing. If he just started out and there was, that's.
Had I
maybe
just
another
cleaned
thing.
it, no problem. Probably wouldn't have even used gloves. I'd have been fine. But it had been like 6 or 7 days. It was due for a cleaning. It was, I mean, it looked okay.
That's probably best.
Yeah, I just had to get rid of it.
Just get a new one.
Suck it up.
Get a new one. Because then you would have been grossed out by it.
Oh, well, let me tell you one other thing I did. I did take the SIM card out.
Yeah, you have to do that. You have to do that.
Yeah,
I'm fine with the SIM card coming out. I'm not fine with you walking around with that up to your ear for the next 5 years, knowing.
And then, I didn't really know what to do with the SIM card. So
you got to have it just in case.
Did it have that plastic film thing that they put on, the screen protector? Because you could have probably just changed that out. That wouldn't have been, at least that's.
No, I got a screen protector. I got an OtterBox and all that stuff. I just had to take the thing out. I had to take the SIM card out, pat it off.
Well, let me ask you this.
Give it to the lady who put it back in the phone.
If it was your teenage kid doing that, said, Dad, I just dropped my phone in the shitter.
Yeah.
Whether it was peeing it, what should I do?
Up,
you would say, clean it up and use your phone, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, see.
You wouldn't? You'd buy your kid another phone? I mean, what an idiot. What kind of idiot drops their phone in the toilet?
Well, I have insurance on my kid's phone because I know better.
Okay. All right.
Did you
now that we're done with that conversation.
Did you sign up for the insurance on this phone?
No, I didn't.
Why don't you go online and do that? We'll wait. Just because I don't think you'll do it otherwise.
Right. And how did you get a phone? Aren't they really hard to get phones right now with this the little chip issue? I thought phones were hard to get.
It's pretty easy. I walked in there and told them what happened. She's laughed at me and said, "Here's a new one. Here's what it's going to cost you."
Did you have them like transfer all your nude pictures and stuff that are in your phone over?
I mean, everything's on here.
I'm sure they had fun with that.
Backed up on the iCloud. Yes.
Have you guys ever done that? One time I went to go get my pictures printed. I went to Walmart or whatever the hell it was. And I'm in there at that little, that photo thing. Yes. It's like a big computer and I had to plug my phone in. And then the problem is though, the gallery of all your pictures pop up.
Yeah.
The casual person did not want to see, but it was still comical.
All right. Good stuff, G-Rizen. RPS 25, RPS heater 25% off your first monthly installment. It's going interestingly with that, Uncle T. I will say that. So we got the NBA tipping off next week. Get going.
Who are we missing?
Our NBA content is like our NFL content's amazing. Our baseball content's amazing. Everything's amazing. I personally think that the NBA is probably collectively RPS's best sport. Like, all right, every week somebody's core is going off in the NFL. Ho-hum, yes, we're amazing at that. But as somebody that didn't play a lot of NBA, that just went in and had a very profitable season, like I grinded out baseball this year. I sucked. I lost money this year in baseball. NBA, I walked right in. Just follow those guys' cores, listen to what they say. I'm not saying it's guaranteed you're going to win money. You still have to put the work in, but my God, are they good. Great. They're great at it. So RPS Heater 25% off your first monthly installment. All right, guys. Let me just get this piece about John Gruden, and then I'll let you guys pontificate on this. Besides for the fact that it's really shitty, the things that he was saying. this is just from a football standpoint. I'm allowed to talk about just football standpoint. I think in the long run, this is good for the Raiders organization because they weren't going to have a sustained run of success with Gruden. He is a guy that coaches. I say this every week on this show, I feel like too. He's a guy that coaches like it's 2001, not 2021. He's run first. He had his fingerprints all over the draft. They wasted so many first-round draft picks. They wasted a first-round pick on Josh Jacobs. They've had multiple busts. He decided to trade Khalil Mack in his prime and then try and go get him back. I will say this. Take out the equation that the guy behind the scenes is a piece of shit. The fact of the matter is that Raiders fans, you get through this, and it's probably going to be the rough rest of the season, but if Davis can make a semi-competent hire, I think it's going to be better than the situation that Gruden had them with. They were 3-0 with smoke and mirrors. This was not going to be a playoff team. I'm telling you that right now. The drafts they have blown every single year. Well, this year wasn't as bad. But for the most part, I think this is going to be fine for the Raiders long term. JT Hayes, you want to get into this here?
Yeah, I think it was interesting. You can feel a number of different ways about this. I guess the timeline here, right? He knows it's coming, so he actually makes a shrewd decision and tries to get in front of it. Gets in front of it with the team. Hey, this is coming out. And he had a couple of problems here, right? One is you can't say they're emails from 10 years ago because you're 58 years old today. You were still a damn near 48-year-old man talking this way, right? So I think that's a problem. When you have people that he was talking about derisively, those same types of people in his organization, in his employ. They have the only openly gay player on his roster. That was one of the things that he was talking about negatively, one of the groups of people. The second thing is and one of his things was, well, I don't remember all the things that I wrote in this email or these emails. And that loses its really relevance when you realize that there are hundreds of these emails. And so it's not one email where you say, you know what, maybe you could say this, I got pissed off and I made a comment and I shouldn't have. You have years of him using this type of language that someone previously tried to get away with by saying, it's locker room talk. Yeah, but if your life is the locker room, then that's a problem. And that says that, I think, to a lot of other people, it gives the impression that you don't care about those types of people and you don't have a respect for those types of people. Now, you can look at it the way there's another way to look at it, which is, well, these are words, and you could look at Gruden and say, well, this guy's just an idiot. But he's an idiot with influence. He's an idiot with a platform. And ultimately, I don't think we're going to see or hear a lot from John Gruden for the rest of his life. And, you know, if you're, whether or not, and I think most people would not, I think most people I deal with, most people I work with or interact with are not the type of people who feel or think that way about all those different groups of people. But there is a secondary thing to take out of this, which is it's amazing that he was sending these emails in 2011. I mean, I think most people learned in the late 90s that emails never die. And that speaks to his, what type of person do you want leading your organization? Someone who's going to put himself and others in such jeopardy continually. So really, really an interesting timing. I see there's all these conspiracy theories out about, well, how come Gruden's emails were the only emails to come out? Look, it doesn't matter. He put himself in this position by sending those emails, continuing to do that, and now he's been out. And that's it.
It's over. It's over. You know what I equate this to? Kind of Jimmy the Greek. Old people remember Jimmy the Greek. He said something off the cuff on CBS about, I think it was the physiology of a black guy. And then that was it. We never heard from him again. So I think this is going to be a Jimmy the Greek thing where Gruden's probably done. Like, we're not going to hear from him again. Or if we do, it'll be something that he's doing on his own. G-Rizen, what are your thoughts on this here? Because let's face it, this is not just a football story or a sports story. Like, this is national news. Like, the nightly news has this up near the top.
Yeah, it's a shame, to be honest. I do heard a lot what JT said. I do agree with a lot of what he was saying, pretty much all of it. But for me, you know, like I said with the whole Urban Meyer thing, I'm out when I hear a story like that. My first thing is okay, you know, how is the media reacting and why are they reacting? And, you know, the media let it lie for a few days. I guess this was going on. And then Mark Davis let him coach on Sunday, which was amazing, which I thought was kind of odd. And then this morning I turned on my TV and ESPN has just got their whipping stick out and they're beating Gruden to death. I got news for him. That shit happened while they were on his damn watch. He had his own damn show. Like, and ESPN is they make me mad sometimes the way they handle situations. It's unreal to me sometimes how the media, they attack, they pounce, they want the story. It's like, you know, it is a shame on what was said and who acts like that in their work email. I would never send an email like that in my work platform of any kind of nature or description in the way he did. He deserves to get fired, but I think there's more to the story that we don't know about.
Of course.
There has to be more to it behind the scenes that I think is going to come out to bring light to why this came out. Like, you know, you guys were mentioning about the emails JT mentioned, you know, like why, and I know people are saying, well, why aren't Schneider's emails out there? Well, the league is run by the owners. They're not going to throw their own under the bus. That's their own good old boy network. He is an employee of all them.
Well,
I can't.
One argument against that, I'll tell you this. I will tell you this, though. The reason why it is from a just a political standpoint, when you talk of just workplace politics, right? The reason why this is so fascinating too is because they want Snyder out.
Right.
So the fact that his emails aren't out there, but these are, you know, maybe there's a deal of, hey, we'll let Snyder live, and maybe let the Raiders out from under this contract where you know those are coming out.
I really feel this. I really felt this, that there was something bigger when they took the ownership away from Dan and gave it to his wife. And I wonder if there's a connection here. Now, this is just putting two and two together. It's a theory, but I do wonder because the NFL has had to know about this shit. They're doing this investigation. They found out. I've been around the Washington organization, and I said this when it went down. Larry Michael, their play-by-play guy who got fired, piece of shit, absolute piece of shit. Dan Snyder, been around him, heard stories, same thing. You know, there's some bad people in that organization. Bruce Allen's another one. I mean, the hubris of these guys, just, all right, we can do whatever we want. I mean, it's so dumb. First of all, they're just dumb. For as smart as they are, these are just dumb actions. But I really would not be surprised if there was something like, hey, Dan, move to the side. There's a whole bunch of stuff coming down because there's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of emails they went through. Like, you're telling me Dan Snyder never did anything?
Whose job was that?
The owners don't want to set precedents here, guys. They don't want to set precedents kicking out one of their own. They don't want to take the team away from Snyder. The only way it's going to happen, though, and I still think it's possible, there would have to be such overwhelming support and so many people coming together in the media to put, and the fans to put pressure on the NFL to get that guy out of there.
The same thing that happened in the
Washington
NBA.
fans would to get that guy out of there I mean, he's a shitty owner and we know he's a shitty person.
Who was the Clippers owner that they did the same?
Sterling.
Yeah. I mean,
well, yeah. And that got to the point to where they just could not do anything about it anymore. He had to go. So that's what I'm saying. The media, the fans, they're going to have to put so much pressure, and there's going to have to be another hammer drop. Like Dan Snyder's footprints are going to have to be all over something in order for him to be out.
And for Gruden to say that he doesn't remember making those comments, that just tells me that he's used to making comments like that. He's comfortable making comments like that. You know, it's sad. You know, I know, you know, everybody talks in different maybe tone or, you know, form when you're with your friend and you don't think maybe you're bitching about, you know, a spouse or a friend or somebody else. But I mean, I never would use tones like that about somebody else. I mean, that's just, I mean, even my worst enemies, I guess I'm a little, you know, we're all different. Maybe that's why we're all, you know, who we all are as people. Like, we wouldn't act like that. And I wouldn't expect anybody else to act like that. But man, it's just sad. I feel bad for, you know, anybody who's associated with the Gruden family. I mean, that's got to be embarrassing to them at this point. But he did make his own bed. He's going to have to lie in it. So it's going to be pretty warm for him here in the next probably month or two in the media. And then he'll just, as you said, Holden, he'll drift off and go away. And, And he'll end up every once in a while on some off-beaten outlet, maybe doing something, but I can't see him ever getting any type of mainstream media job again.
You think he can be like the NFL analyst for Newsmax, maybe? You think?
No, I could see him going on something like Outkick or something like that with Clay Travis or somebody, or Barstool.
No, not even. The only path back here for him is to do something with kids, to do something where he goes and he talks about how harmful these actions were, and help underprivileged kids or something like that, teaching camps. But even so, I think it's a long road back for someone who is 58 years old today.
He's done. I mean, Michael Vick went to prison and came back, and he was talented enough. Like, if Gruden was the greatest coach in the history of the league, even then, I don't know if people would look the other way for this one. This one, I think we've heard the last of Gruden for a long time. And you know who was happy about this? Urban Meyer. I mean, at this point in time last week, he was getting shit all over for sticking his hand up a lady's butt, and now we're not even bothering with him.
There's a couple of people. Urban Meyer and Jim Cott, I guess, made a comment about Yoan Moncada, and I didn't hear it, so I won't opine on it. But it was good. That was kind of at the cusp of there's some kindling, and is this going to be a bigger story? And then yesterday, Gruden resigns, and now it's like, okay, let's talk about that for a couple of days, and maybe Jim Cott could survive. But it talks. Hey, you have one life. Do you want to spend it hating on and focusing on the differences between you and other people, or do you want to do the best you can? Because now at 58, he just doesn't have enough time left to become relevant again.
Damn. I mean, JT, 58, not a lot. We're going to be 58. I'm going to be 58 in 11 years, man. You're telling me the end is near?
You're talking about a long reconciliation process, though, for something so public.
Yeah.
And again, to G-Rizen's point that he made, this isn't one email. There's a consistency here that's troubling. This group, that group. In other words, everyone that's not looks and exactly is like John Gruden, there was an issue with. And that's a problem.
All right. So we got that out of the way. RPS Heater 25% off your first monthly payment for a monthly plan. That's wonderful. NFL in full swing. Our guys killed it, especially Big T's core over the weekend. Smashed. Not to say that your guys didn't, but I definitely used his core in a big tournament on DraftKings. We've got live programming. What is it? 8:45 Eastern? Is that when you guys start your show?
8:45 on Sunday, baby. 8:45 a.m. It's before the Crows even think about getting up, as the sun is deciding whether or not it's going to rise again for another day. We are up talking NFL football every Sunday, the Off the Chalk show.
Love to hear it. Just love to absolutely hear it. After that's the Wood show. We start around 10 Eastern. And then Up to Lock show, me and JSU and JJ from the bet side gives you some bet picks. And of course, I tell you about the Wood show, Hoop and Big T are on that. So it's monster stuff. NFL season, RPS Heater 25. Let me ask you about a little dilemma I've had for years. I do have multiple TVs, but when the baseball playoffs and the NFL are on, almost 100% of the time I'm going to go to the NFL. It was cool though, because we had that lightning delay on Monday night, was it Monday or Sunday Night Football? And I got a chance to watch the end of the Red Sox-Rays game, which was really cool. If you got to pick one, though, G-Rizen, I'll start with you here. You got a playoff game in baseball. I'll even go as far as to say a World Series game or a football game in the NFL, Sunday Night Football. What are you picking?
The World Series game.
Yeah.
Without hesitation. I mean, these NFL games, sure. It depends also how much action I have. If I got any DFS players or anything, sure, if it's a Sunday night, probably got some Showdown, but I think I'd much rather watch the baseball game, just because football I can watch on the NFL Network a day or two later anyway, in a shorter span, in about a half-hour span, and zip through it if I wanted to see it anyway. So, but baseball, to me, there's nothing as exciting as fans cheering every pitch and every play. And, like yesterday, JT was at that Braves game, I believe, like you said. And when the tag play was at second and he got out at home, for football games, I generally wouldn't jump out of my chair and yell, "What the hell?" But that one I sure did. I got pretty excited over that one because I had bet on the Braves yesterday, and which actually worked out. But still, I was a little upset at that time because it was 0-0 at that time.
What do you think, JT Hayes? You're a big baseball guy too.
Huge baseball fan. I think it depends a lot on who's playing. The World Series, and I'll tell you this, Kevin Cash and the Rays lost last night. Their season is over. And I hope that Dave Roberts and the Dodgers follow suit, because if you gave me a Dodgers-Rays World Series, I would probably watch exhibition tennis.
Ooh,
I would want to watch that. And I'll tell you why. It's the one thing I say. I think Cash is an okay manager. I think he's a pretty good manager. I don't think Dave Roberts is very good. I think he's had the benefit of a lot of money spent there. And I get concerned about the long-term growth of the game. People root for players. People root for their favorite player as part of their favorite team. And if you're a Tampa Bay Ray fan, who are you rooting for on that team? Well, I root for Yandy Diaz because he plays Monday and Wednesday when a left-handed pitcher is starting, right? And it's just, I think for the long-term growth of the game or sustainability of the game, this, we pinch hit in the third or fourth inning every single day is just not going to work. So I hope that it fails as a strategy so that the game can survive, and hopefully the Giants will close this one out. But if it was my team in baseball or a good World Series pitching matchup, yeah, I definitely watch that over week 5 or week 6, which is where we are during the World Series NFL. I agree with you, Red.
Yeah, I mean, I got them both on, but the sound's going to be on the NFL. Unless it was my favorite team. I just don't root for a team anymore there.
So if the Astros were playing the Dodgers, you'd have the sound on NFL, not listen to all the fans yelling and screaming at each other first time back and all the cheating scandals, man. That's what the networks are begging for that.
So then I would turn it on for half inning. I would turn the sound up.
Right, because you want to hear them all bitching.
That's like the exception to the rule. Because I want to hear that.
Hey, listen, depending on who the announcers are, you may have the sound off of everything and just some nice music on.
I don't think there's really anybody that I need to listen to anymore. That's the whole thing. The guys, the broadcasters that get me going, still Gus Johnson. Worst thing for us was him leaving CBS. For him, the best thing was going to Fox, making a shit ton of money. He's finally doing some NFL games again, which is nice. Gus Johnson moves the needle for me. Like, he's the guy that I will tune in and listen to. I think on the baseball side, just, they don't even try anymore. They just recycle the same old guys in there. They got the same old play-by-play guys in there. Then they decide to throw A-Rod in there, who, honest to God, just a blathering idiot when it comes to broadcasting, okay? His old teammates didn't like him. There's people in the league that still don't like him. Vasgersian is a guy, he's a guy. He's a younger guy, but he's a guy. I don't even know who's calling this game right. I'm watching Houston, Chicago. I don't even remember who's calling the game. Brian Anderson, maybe, who had one of the biggest botch jobs in the history of the NCAA tournament, saying a game was going to overtime when it was really over. So, I'm a little bit down on these guys. Buck and Smoltz, you guys can rip Buck all you want. There's a reason why he's the number one guy. He's great at what he does. John Smoltz, very good at what he does. But outside of that, I think the baseball broadcaster, there's nobody I really need to tune into to listen. And I think it hurts.
I like Costas a little bit. I will tell you that. I like it when Costas is on. And then I'll tell you one guy. It's not any of NFL or Major League Baseball that I wish was still on something other than I think he was over at Bellator for a little while. Mike Goldberg, I thought, had some of the most amazing calls, UFC commentator, and some of the most amazing catchphrases, right? And it starts right now. Just stuff like that. It's all over. Just amazing stuff from him. But yeah, I don't think there's many out there that I say, man, I get excited to listen to. Costas is probably one of the few that's left. And I agree with your point on Buck. I think Buck is very good as well.
People hate him. But that's just how
they're jealous. They're envious. Here's this guy who makes a ton of money. Yeah. He's on TV all the time. He's gotten 3 new heads of hair, and it is what it is.
He's funny too. He's got a good sense of humor. Oh, exactly. Buck sucks. You're gonna hate anybody that's in there. You are. You are. He comes from, his dad was an amazing broadcaster. He's an amazing broadcaster. You know, the NFL, there's guys like, who is that? Ian Eagle, amazing. I'll tune in for him. It's just the NFL, it's national stuff. I think their broadcasters much better than what we see with Major League Baseball. And I also think that there's a lot of things that hurt baseball, but I think the blandness of their calls is bad too. You know, there's got to be a way to spice it up. They don't need it in the playoffs. The playoff baseball will just bring it to you, but regular season, it's just insignificant. G-Rizen, anybody that brings you in to watch a game?
I mean, we lost them all. The Dick Enbergs, the Vince Scullys, guys like that, man. I really like that. I mean, just when DirecTV came out and had that MLB innings, and I could listen to some of them guys, the Dick Enbergs, that's what I used to like, watching some of the Padres. I used to watch the Padres game just because a lot of those guys would break off into some story about, the history of baseball, which, I'm always in tune. And I've been asked, hey, if you could have lunch with somebody, I always said it'd be one of them old time baseball announcers that have seen all them games, the Dick Enbergs, the Ernie Harwells, the Vince Scullys. I think that would be a lot of fun to sit down with them guys. But so if Gus Johnson left CBS, does that mean no more NCAA tournament for Gus?
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't been on the tournament in a decade.
Yeah, I guess maybe I missed it. I always just kind of put his name to the NCAA tournament. Fuck, we were at Big T's, man. We didn't have the sound on. I didn't watch none of it, and I was drunk. So
that is funny.
I got one story real quick, yeah. And then I know we got to get to football, but this is probably like 2006, 2007. I was still in government, and a guy that I worked for had actually lived in California and lived next to Eric Karros and Mike Piazza their rookie season. And he became friendly with them. And then as he rose up in government, he reached out to them and said, hey, will Tommy Lasorda consider coming to speak at this conference? So Tommy comes and speaks to this conference, and we're all hanging out with him a bunch of times. And the guy I'm working for becomes friends with him. He invites us to spring training. And so my boss says, do you want to go to Dodgertown with Tommy Lasorda? I'm like, yes, I want to go to Dodgertown. So we're looking for a hotel, and he reaches out to Tommy's guy, and he says, hey, Tommy insists you stay at Dodgertown. And I'm like, and so we're all kind of like, well, that means, okay, fine. So we go down to Vero, and they take us, and Dodgertown is like these dormitory style housing for not just some of the major league players, but also all the AAA, AA kids, whatever. So they take us to our room, we're getting ready, and we have to go meet Tommy for dinner. And as we're putting our bags away and looking at email and getting ready to go and meet him, we hear this sound coming from next door. And we both look at each other like little kids. And it's like, oh my God, that's Vin Scully. So we walk out the front door of our little dorm style area, and he's coming out at the same time. And he turns around and he goes, hello, boys. And he walks over and he comes up right to me and he goes, hi, I'm Vin. And I'm just like in awe. I'm like, yeah, oh my God, yes, Mr. Scully. He's like, oh, call me Vin. One of the coolest things ever, just the coolest guy. I got to meet him several times. Just one of the amazing experiences that you just never forget. But Vin Scully, all-time great.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a name-dropping episode later in the year. That'll be nice. We can just
just telling you a nice story. You don't want to listen to it?
I think that's an awesome story.
It was wonderful and heartwarming.
This is why, Holden, this is why people think you're a piece of shit. This is why people call you the John Gruden of RPS.
See, that is... Some people would take offense to that. I will let that slide. That was personal, unfair, and uncalled for.
But it's said with love. It's said with love.
Yeah, that's what you say. I think it was mean. It was hurtful and spiteful. But you know what? I'm going to move on. Talk some football, you fucking cocksucker. Anyways, quarterback. Let's do it. We'll run it down real quick. JTA's got to leave for the game within the next 15 minutes, G-Rizen.
All right.
Big T says this. It's freaking Tuesday. What are we looking at here? What are we doing? But we got Mahomes on the road at Washington. We got Lamar Jackson against the Chargers. That could be a shootout. Herbert on the other side. You've got boy, Matt Stafford at the Giants. Everybody's hurt on the Giants, so maybe maybe after the first half that game will be over. Do we just go back to Joe Burrow at Detroit? Is he in another smash spot? Is it that simple?
No, I think it's simple just to play Taylor Heineke against the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs can't seem to stop anybody, and we know they're going to score. So, I mean, that game's got over under 55.5. So, I mean, just kind of looking at that, every other game on the main slate, we're only going to have that. We got a 51 with Baltimore, and then we got the 50 with Arizona and Cleveland, which I think that game could be another game with a lot of DFS goodness in. But I mean, for me, this Kansas City-Washington game stands out. Taylor Heineke, I mean, how can you not consider playing anybody against the Chiefs at this point? So kind of easy for me at this point, but we'll see how the week goes, kind of look at some chalk. I mean, last week was really important that you kept your ear to the ground up until the lock of the slate because Madison went out, or Madison was viable at that point because Cook was out. But there's going to be some pretty chalky running backs, I think, this week with CEH being hurt. He's not going to be able to give it a go. We got Barkley out, so Booker's going to be in there. So, we got a handful of dudes that were hurt. I mean, how much run is Tony going to get with all the Giant receivers out now with Galladay being hurt?
Up too.
Yeah, I mean, he's hurt himself. So, could Ricky Seals-Jones be in play this week, with Washington, with him being out in that Kansas City-Washington game? So, but yeah, I mean, two games standing out for me are that Kansas City-Washington, Arizona-Cleveland. Always Kyler Murray's in play. And then I like both quarterbacks in that game, that Kansas City-Washington game.
Okay, JT Hayes, let's look at it here. Go back to Burrow this week. Is it pretty simple? Or are there a whole bunch of other guys that are very viable this on Sunday?
No, I'm kind of right on board with G-Rizen. The first thing I noticed when I was I broke down games this morning, getting ready to talk about this with you guys. And, I don't know. I suspect Heineke will become a little popular, but I don't care. And actually, there's a chance he doesn't because no one's played this guy. I played him against the Falcons a couple of weeks ago. I think he was at 6%, and he got up to nearly 30. And this game has a total that on Tuesday is at 55.5, with still some injury news to break, and he's under 6K on DraftKings. I mean, 5.8. And there's just so many plays in these high total games that are very, very interesting to me. Also, in that same game, right, Antonio Gibson went for his 2 touchdowns last week. Even though Kansas City can't stop anyone, I still think it's a pretty good bet that Washington's going to be trailing. And I'm going to say this on Tuesday. It does set up for me as a classic spot to play J.D. McKissic. J.D. McKissic, 4.8. You've seen where he does well is the chase script with the fast-paced game. 55.5 total. I'm sure Antonio Gibson's going to be popular. I think it's Darrell Williams because Damian is the guy they let go to the Bears, right? So Darrell Williams at 4.9, J.D. McKissic sitting there at 4.8 is very, very interesting to me. You got McLaurin at 7.1. Tyreek is banged up. He's questionable going into this week. Kelsey is at his lowest price point that I've seen him in some time on DraftKings is 7.0. And then the other game that G-Rizen talked about, I think this is the spot where you get the DeAndre Hopkins ceiling game against the Browns here at 7.8. I think he looks pretty good. Odell Beckham all the way down at 5.1. This Cleveland team is a little bit difficult to target offensively, but should be a fast-paced game. And then, you talked about the Rams, the Giants game. I don't know how much, love I'll have for that game outside of maybe Henderson, just because, I mean, the Giants should get absolutely destroyed here. The Dallas-New England game has some of those same makeup, right, where you think that Dallas should be able to win that game handily. But the Charger-Baltimore game, some interesting low-price plays. Mike Williams had the big ceiling game this week. Keenan Allen priced all the way down to just 6.4. That's one of the lowest price points we'll see on Keenan Allen. He's still getting 8, 9, 10, 11 targets. So if they look to cover up Mike Williams, Keenan Allen could have a really big game there. And then, Lamar and Herbert. I mean, it just seems every week these guys, Lamar has looks like maybe his passing has taken a step forward this year. So really, really, really interesting week this week. And you mentioned a ton. We're at that point in the season. We started to talk about it last week. We got to really pay attention to these injuries and who they open up opportunity for. Got a lot of those to look out for this week.
Yeah, no, I thought I was going to be a little sneaky in my dummy lineup, throw a little McKissick in there, but that's it. If our boy JT Hayes is already talking about him on Tuesday, screw it. Take him out of the circle of trust. And the only other guy, and I hate playing John Ross, but if Tony is out, like, who else are they going to go to? Glennon doesn't have a cannon for an arm, but that might be the guy on the Giants that you have to look at. Good news is you're not going to have to pay up for Devontae Adams and Derrick Henry this week. Henry's not on the main slate, so it'll just be Devontae Adams and Travis Kelce. So at running back, boy, G-Rizen, I played some Eckler in the late slate. He wasn't really that owned, but we talk about Derrick Henry being a stud. Here's what Eckler's done since week 2. DK points, 22.5, 22.7, 29.5, 33.9. So for all the talk about Derrick Henry, I think there is a clear 1A in the National Football League, especially on DraftKings, G-Rizen.
Yeah, Eckler's been, I mean, the first week everybody's all concerned he didn't catch any passes, but I don't think that's been too much of a concern here. And I actually like the Chargers in that game. Baltimore just coming off this Monday night squeaker last night. So now they got to bounce back really quick and play one of the best offenses that we've seen so far this year in football. So I think they're going to have their work cut out for them. Baltimore has not been very good against the running backs either. So definitely think Eckler is a guy that you can use this week. And then another guy that I was looking at a little bit would be Aaron Jones against the Bears. So I kind of like some Aaron Jones a little bit, but the value is going to be there this week with running backs. Like we've already mentioned some guys. So we're going to see how, lineups go out throughout the week, but a lot of cheap options at running back this week.
Yeah, no question. I think Kareem Hunt's got to be in play, doesn't he now? JT Hayes at this point, much cheaper than Chubb, and he's getting the workload that Chubb's getting.
Yeah, Hunt and Chubb, even though they're splitting time, it's a run first offense or a check down to the running back first offense there, especially with, I can't tell if OBJ is still maybe just, recovering a little bit from that ACL, isn't quite 100%. But he didn't really he got, I think it was 3 targets in that game, where both teams score 40 plus points and he only got the 3 targets. The guy I'm looking at early in the week is Joe Mixon against Detroit. Teams have, we saw it again this week with Madison scoring the 2 touchdowns, going for, I think, 120 some yards against Detroit. Samaj Kareem was placed on the COVID-19 IR list, and they effectively split time, which I think was Cincinnati's way of bringing Mixon back slowly. Now, Mixon, I think, is going to be my favorite play of that game as of Tuesday. A lot of things could change. Right across from him, Swift is just 6'3". And I already talked about McKissick. CMC might be back this week against the Minnesota Vikings. So some interesting plays in the mid-range there. And, yeah, I mean, I'm probably not going to touch New England's running backs. Looks like Damian Harris was banged up and just no need to go there. So Ezekiel Elliott is also questionable. This is early in the week. If he misses, be very, very interested in Pollard at 5'6" as a punt.
Ooh la la.
I like some Jonathan Taylor too, Holden.
Yeah. Taylor's on my list. I didn't mention it, but yeah, you're right, G-Rizen. 6'6", still too cheap in that matchup against Houston.
See, and I think that game there, Holden, you guys talking about this Indy-Houston game. So Jonathan Taylor, I think, is going to get fair amount of love this week. So he might even be chalky playing against the shitty Houston team. But that's a game they could let Carson Wentz just air it out, and they score a bunch, kind of like we saw Miami and Tampa, what happened with them. Tampa Bay just decided to let Tom Brady just zip it around the yard, but not trying to compare the two offenses. But, I mean, 2 shitty teams. I think a lot of times when the teams can have their way with them, they just do whatever they want. So That's going to be interesting with Jonathan Taylor for sure.
Okay. Wide receiver. We'll move on here pretty quickly. Devontae Adams, lock button, G-Rizen.
I mean, with that target share, it's kind of hard not to. I mean, dude's getting almost 40% target share from Green Bay. I mean, it's really difficult not to consider him. I mean, every week. I mean, Mike Williams is almost in the same category. It seems. If you change their names and probably just swap their stats, you probably wouldn't even be surprised that Mike Williams. I think he's probably got better stats. I haven't really checked it out, but. I mean, Marquise Brown's another guy. He's only 5'9". I mean, it seems like that's, the video game's top receiver. And I mean, especially in that game as a bounce back. But yeah, Adams, I mean, he's 9,000, no Henry. I think he's going to be the top spend up on the slate. So I think Adams is going to be pretty high owned this week.
JT Hayes, I think the build, when it's all said and done, a lot of people are going to go mid to lower range running back and just pay up at wide receiver. You just look at some of these guys in the matchups they got. And Tyreek Hill, listen, if he plays, how effective is he going to be? He's got soft tissue injury. But we got Adams. We got Mike Williams coming off just a absolutely bananas game. Justin Jefferson always in play. You think Hopkins is having a ceiling game. Cooper Kupp against the Giants. I mean, McLaurin versus Kansas City. You know what? I think for me, the ranking this week, Devontae Adams, Terry McLaurin, number 2. Like, what is Terry McLaurin going to do to this Kansas City secondary this week?
That's why McLaurin for me is above Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams with that price bump to $9K on DraftKings, it's probably going to dump him out of my pool with the mid-range and kind of upper range wide receivers that are available. I always generally fade these guys coming off these monster games because there's a letdown in some way. I know they're playing the Bears, and you say, well, the Bears are, but the Bears both these teams want to play slow. And I think that's it's one of those divisional games. The total is at 45 right now. I could see that dropping even lower. The game is in Chicago, so we'll see what the weather is like there. I agree with you on Terry McLaurin. He's my number 1. Mike Williams, huge ceiling game. Keenan Allen didn't do a lot with the same amount of targets. He's just 6.4. So I could see going back to Williams in this matchup because his price didn't jump all the way up as high as Adams's did, but I do like the discount on Allen. I talked about Hopkins. Couple of other guys. You mentioned Cooper Kupp. The only worry there is he's going to have to do his damage in the first half because with that 10.5 total, there's just not going to be, I don't think, a reason. Given it's just a strength of personnel issue. The Giants aren't going to be anywhere near full strength, and so I think for that game, the target that I would go to more is Henderson at 6.0. Although he's banged up, and you might have a share there. Go ahead.
Real quick on that passing game in LA. Robert Woods had 12 catches on 14 targets for 150, and McVay said he had to get him more involved. Do you think that stays the case this week? Like, are we going to start getting into a 50-50 coin flip on do we go with Kupp or Woods, or do we have to play them both? What are we doing here?
No, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what ultimately happens here on the injury report. One of those guys, more likely Cooper Kupp than anyone else, is going to have James Bradbury coverage. So that's something. I think that's the only thing that can slow Cooper Kupp down right now is that top cornerback coverage. So we'll see. And then, that game, I don't want a lot of pieces of that Cincinnati-Detroit game, but Quintus Cephas, it looks like suffered a season-ending injury.
Yeah.
I don't love the guy per se, but we're going to need some punts, and it's probably going to have to come at the wide receiver position. So Amon-Ra St. Brown at 4.2 is probably one of a few. I like Duvernay a little bit more myself, thinking that the Chargers are going to give a lot of attention to Marquise Brown.
Yeah, I think Khalif Raymond coming off a blanking would probably be my guy from the Lions, but he'd probably be a little bit more.
I think he's questionable is one of the things I saw. He might be questionable too.
Yeah, so that's another thing with the Lions are interesting. Let's hit tight end real quick. Kelsey, lowest price point on DK, 7K. Waller is 6'6". Andrews is 5'2". That's if you're paying up this week. I mean, I've had so much success rolling Dalton Schultz out there week after week. He's just been terrific. I also think that the Broncos are going to try and force feed Noah Fant the ball this week. They didn't even look his way till late in that game last week. So there's another guy a little bit farther down the list. G-Rizen, what are we doing at tight end right now early in the week?
Yeah, I mean, Kelsey obviously is always the guy that you got to consider. His price did drop, but I mean, I was just kind of looking. This is the smallest main slate we've had with the bye weeks and everything else. We only got 10 games this time. We only got 3 games at 4:00. So a little bit different. We don't have all the, normal bigger pool. It seems like there's usually 2 or 3 games, but I mean, Waller's going to have a tough matchup with Denver. I think Andrews has been really interesting. We saw him, have a really good game last night, especially in that game with the Chargers. I think that game's going to be pretty high scoring, so he's interesting. I mean, Detroit's going to be losing, so, I mean, is Hawkinson in play? It seems like they've been kind of taking him out of the equation here. And then Hunter Henry might not be a bad idea for a cheap guy there for New England against Dallas. But, yeah, all kinds of – I mean, you're either going to pay up for Kelsey or you're just going to go down probably to one of these cheaper guys. And, like I mentioned, like a Ricky Seals-Jones might be in play, somebody like that. But, yeah, it's either Kelsey or you're going to probably pay all the way down.
What do you think there, JT Hayes?
Yeah, you guys mentioned a lot of these guys. Ricky Seals-Jones, slight price rise, but still only 3.0. Kelsey, obviously, we've talked about. Schultz, when Belichick plays, he looks to take away these top options. So if he's looking to take away the receivers, they've just been targeting the hell out of Dalton Schultz, and he's been having really good success. And then the team that's actually giving up the most fantasy points to opposing tight ends is Baltimore. And so you have Jared Cook at 3.2 and Donald Parham at 2.9. Targets for Parham haven't quite been there, but if you wanted to take a true risk in a game where you have to believe that the Chargers are going to score some points on this Baltimore defense, looks nothing like it used to. I think those are pretty good options. Agree with everything else you guys said. Henry, a couple of other guys there. So definitely I think there's some upside there at the lower price point at tight end this week.
Okay. Well, great show, guys. Uncle T, hopefully he'll be back next week. We'll be dropping this same thing. It comes out on Wednesday morning. And then I got the NFL spread pod coming up with the kids. Titletown and Rubio Dimes. Rubio didn't do very well in our free roll either, if I remember correctly. If he beat me, I'm sure he'll let me know tomorrow, but I don't think he did. JT, have a good time of the game, buddy. G-Rizen, always good to see you, my friend. And Simon, get us out of here, even though I'm the one that has to hit the out button. Okay? Thanks, Simon.